Okay, and at one point, Snoop wants to leave Death Row.
Yeah,
What was going on at that time?
well, everybody wanted to leave Death Row then, except Daz and Mr. Lay. We were working their albums, and Daz was doing a lot of production on the Gridlock soundtrack and the gang-related soundtrack, and his own album, Revenge, Retaliation, Get Back. And so Daz was happy. Corrupt had got sent home because he was a molester. And then, what's the other boy name? You know, so Snoop was not happy because he felt he should have been running the company. He should have been left in charge. And so Leroy Corn was coming up there trying to get Snoop. Everybody was trying to get Snoop. Suge had made a deal initially with Interscope and Priority Records where they were going to do 50-50 deal with them. They were going to own Snoop 50-50. That deal fell through. And so, but Suge always had a special place in his heart for this guy named Brian Turner, who was the owner of Priority Records. And I remember him sitting up there, and Brian came up there to tell him that Jimmy backed out of the deal because I think they were going to give him like $12 million or $14 million, something like that. Something, it was a crazy amount. That's what he had even told Leroy Corn when he came up. And Leroy came back and said, because Columbia Records was their partners at the time, said the most we can come up with was like $7 or $8 million. And Suge, for some reason, did not want Snoop on the East Coast. He didn't want them over there at Def Jam. And so I remember he took less money. He told Brian, he said, Brian, you know that country motherfucker you got over there? He's talking about Master P. Why don't you put him with him, bill him $4.5 million, give me $4.5 million and a 7% override. You do that, you got yourself a deal. And that's how the deal went. That was Suge creation and thinking only for him to be over there with No Limit and Master P. Now, Master P had to agree to the deal and want to take Snoop, but the way P tried to put it out, like he went and took Snoop from Suge and they came up with the ideal and all that. Horse shit.
How much did he say he paid for Snoop?
Who?
Master P.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what amount he said.
Or Snoop's contract, I should say.
I don't know. The contract was actually directed or signed to Priority, and then Priority did whatever they wanted to know with No Limit.
Okay.
I remember getting a check from him because I told Brian, but before we do this deal, Snoop was on a song that appeared on one of their albums or without our permission. And we about to do a cease and desist on that album. And Brian was like, no, what you want? And Suge told him $100,000. Just threw out a crazy number, because that was a lot of money back then. No motherfucker sent a check for $100,000 from the general account the next day.
Damn. Did Snoop get to keep his name? Because I remember his name wasn't Snoop Doggy Dogg at first?
That was his doing. We didn't take the rights for the name or anything from him.
Okay. Snoop has said he never got no real money till he got to No Limit.
He got his life saved before he did an album. Nigga was on trial for murder. Do you know what attorneys cost for murder? His family sued us, or sued him. He got that case taken care of. He was living in a house in Toluca Lake, Montclair, and had a spot on Wilshire. He had limo drivers wherever he went. He had homeboys on his staff. He had unlimited studio time. He lived like a rock star, looked good, and he had a monthly of about $50,000 a month, plus whenever he touched, big amounts. Come on. Everybody lived good on Death Row. Everybody was happy until they didn't get what they were getting anymore. Snoop separation agreement from us was $1 million, where he couldn't make any more claims against us We didn't make any more claims against him when we released him to priority. I personally took the check over to his accounting firm because they still owed me some money for the security, so I was making sure I got my money, my check that day.
Oh, okay, so when you guys split, there was agreement that Snoop wasn't owed any more money.
Correct.
Okay, was Snoop in the hole?
We don't know.
When you guys split?
That's what I always say Death Row messed up at. Death Row was always like a guest. We didn't have an accounting department or a royalty department. Suge just took care of the artists in his mind as best he could and gave them money. I always say they all were overcompensated because everybody that you hear complaining about they got cheated for this or they got cheated for that, if you ever look at the history, they never even put an album out on Death Row. Only ones really put an album out on Death Row, an album that was successful, was 2Pac Shakur, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and a Dog Pound. Tell me anybody else. Rage didn't do, if she sold 100,000 records, I'll be surprised. Michelle, if she sold 25,000 records, I'll be surprised. Daz, if he sold 100,000, I'll be surprised. You know? So my point is to all of that is, everybody was overpaid. They were all living good. You saw any Death Row artists out back in the day, they lived in a nice spot, had a nice car, no matter if it was owned by Death Row or not, because everybody was doing leases back there. So you wasn't outright buying a car unless it was a classic. And the reason why most of the cars was in Death Row name was because who could qualify for those type of cars then? Could they qualify for those type of cars on those type of budgets? Only getting $2,000 or $3,000 a month monthlies? But no, Death Row was paying for those car notes and the insurance, them where they were living, and gave them a monthly. And like I said, most of these guys ain't never put out an album on Death Row. That's when you get paid, when your album drop and you go and do shows.
Yeah.
That's how you make money. But most people don't know the business, so that's why they always saying Death Row cheated, Death Row did that. 2Pac. Why would 2Pac mama sell it with us for $3 million if we owed him so much money? That was her settlement agreement. $3 million, and she did 4 or 5 albums with us after that. So they were happy. They were content. 2Pac wouldn't even do his money yet when he got shot and later died. His money was just about due. So that's what bothers me when people always say they were being cheated, they were this or that. That's not accurate when you know the business.
It seemed like if she was really that unhappy, she would have never put no albums out.
She would have never did business, continue to do business with us, one. And two, and more importantly, $3 million ain't enough for me to sell it with. If y'all owe me $50 million or $25 million or $10 million, I'm only gonna take $3 million and you have it? I'll take $3 million, that's all you got. Well, we still had it at Interscope. No, $3 million is what the attorneys look like, yeah, this is about right. After everything that they done showed us, they done spent and paid for, $3 million sound about right. It could have been wrong in our favor, could have been wrong in their favor, but everybody do it in approximate.
Okay, so that was just the best approximate that everybody could agree on and everything.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And she was a smart lady. She wasn't nobody that needed to have no whole bunch of bills or anything like that. When she had to make the deal, she had just put out an album with Jive Records in Interscope, the Are You Still Down album.
Okay.
So she wasn't in no desperate spot.